Okay, so here we are, week 6 in the 12 weeks of total immersion. So last week I switched it up a little bit and I kind of talked about, I think, a different subject that I was planning on talking about. I'm going to kind of do the same thing this week, only because what I'm doing is I kind of move with the group. And as I'm getting feedback and getting questions, I say, gosh, you know what? It seems like more people need to hear this message right now. And so don't worry, I'm going to continue to cover, many, many subjects in the upcoming weeks, but we're kind of midway. By the time we're done with this session today, we'll be midway way through the 12 weeks of total immersion. So what I want to talk to you about, and some of you may have seen a video that I did. It's a fairly long video, so most people don't like to watch videos, for 5-10 minutes. But this particular video has nearly 10,000 views on it, and it's on mastery. It's the 6 phases of mastery. So I won't take us through an hour conversation about mastery, but I do want to talk about mastery and the different phases, because some of you are in all of you are in various phases right now at the moment, and you may not know it. But what's important is to be able to identify what phase you're in and be able to understand what you need to be doing in that phase and what actions you need to take to get out of that phase. So let's just go forward and talk about the 6 phases of mastery. First of all, phase number 1 is called the formulation phase. Phase number 2 is the concentration phase. Phase number 3 is the momentum phase. Then we got a fourth stage or phase is stabilization. And then the 5th is breakthrough. And then the 6th is mastery. Now, I will say, very few of us will go through those stages 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, all at the first attempt. I mean, as a matter of fact, in order to get to mastery, usually you go phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, phase 4, phase 5, phase 3, phase 4, phase 5, phase 1, phase 2. And we just bounce and bounce back and forth until we get to a mastery level. And I'll talk with you about what mastery level is before we end the call or the webinar. So let's talk about the first phase, though, the formulation phase. The formulation phase is this. This is the planning process. Now, I will tell you, the good thing about this phase is this phase does not take too long. This phase can be done today. You could already get out of this phase after, a little bit of time today, maybe an hour. It might take some of you a little bit more. If you're a little bit more detailed in the way that you plan and if you're a little bit more analytical, then yes, it'd probably take you a little bit more than an hour, but it shouldn't take you any more than a few hours. So you could get this done within a day or two, or at least within a week if you need to get some additional information to help you with your planning. So the formulation phase could also be looked at as this is the time that you set your goals. This is the time that you determine your plan, like how you're going to reach your goals. So if you think about it, like if you were feeling a little bit overweight and you decided, gosh, you need to do something about that, that would be you talking to yourself in the formulation phase. Like you may say, man, I really need to do something about this. I'm going to start going to the gym. I'm going to start eating better. Within the next 2 weeks, I want to lose 4 pounds. That would be an example of what someone would do in the formulation phase. This is the time where you have to figure out where you are, you determine where you want to go, and then you draw the roadmap. The key is so many people, they skip the formulation phase and they just show up at the office or wherever they work, maybe their home office, and they start working. They start doing things, but they're not really but what they're doing at the time, though they may be doing something that could be beneficial, could be productive, it may not actually help them get exactly where they want to get in their business. So you have to figure out where you are, figure out where you want to go, and draw the map. The formulation phase is where you really focus on drawing the map. Like, I want to sell 50 homes. I want to sell 100 homes. Well, great. How many of you sold today? Well, I've only sold 10. Okay, good. So what are some of the things that you're going to put in place to get there? Well, I don't know. Well, until you do know what the plan will be, you're officially not out of the formulation phase. Very, very important. I often call the formulation phase the how phase. You know, it's like, how am I going to get there? And then you start making a list of all the things that you need to do. Like, I need to go ahead and door knock X amount of people. I need to prospect X amount of people. I need to run so many ads because I know that I generate a lead per every blank. Like for every $5 I spend, I create a lead. Well, if that's the case, well, guess what? If you want 100 leads, then you know exactly how much you're going to have to spend. That's the formulation phase. You also need to look at, in the formulation phase, who needs to help you. So it's not only about the how am I going to do this, but who do you need to tap into and use as a resource? What do you need to know? So how do I do it? Who do I need help from? And what do I need in order to get going? Those are the things that you want to be clear on. You want to have a clear vision of your goals. You have to be crystal clear on what you want, and you have to have the map. Once you have all that, you're ready to go to the next phase. So that's formulation phase. The next phase is this. The next phase, we call it the concentration phase. Now, most people advance from the formulation phase to the concentration phase because it doesn't take a lot of time. It's very easy to move from the formulation phase to the concentration phase. So most people will actually successfully get there. Concentration phase, a few things I want to warn you about. Depending on your goals, this stage can take a minimum of 90 days and could take as much as 12 months. Again, depending on how big your goals are. But it'll very likely take a minimum of 90 days. So in real estate, unfortunately, agents tend to have a challenge with focusing on something for 90 straight days. A lot of times they'll start off with a bang, they get moving, and then something gets distracting, or they get rejected, so they get discouraged, and then they no longer do the thing that they were supposed to do according to the formulation phase, you know, the map that one drew. Now all of a sudden they stop doing it. So when you stop somewhere before 90 days, then you have to go back, reformulate, and start all over again. So the concentration phase is that phase where I talk about boredom a lot. Concentration phase is that boring phase. It's the phase where, like, you're doing things with the thought that because you do these, you're going to get something new or something that you want. The challenge is that you're doing the same thing over and over and over again. Like, for instance, I gave you some ideas at some point in previous weeks about the Facebook Marketplace. Some of you are running an ad in Facebook Marketplace every day. I'd say one or two of you maybe. But most people have already forgot about that idea. Most people have already stopped. Like, they could not continue to do that over and over and over again because it was boring. Like, that's all I have to do is I just have to do this over and over again. Yes, that's the concentration phase. This is the phase where 90% of the people, 90% of the agents will quit. Now, I'm not trying to discourage you. I'm trying to share with you the challenges that you have in front of you. But more important, the opportunity that you have when you overcome these challenges. See, the concentration phase is where the rubber meets the road. It's where you take your plan and you start to work it. So I want to go ahead, let's just say in your formulation phase, you came up with, in the next 6 months, I want to have 20 buyer sales. Okay. Well, in the formulation phase, you would probably have to know, in order to have 20 closed, how many do you have to open? In order to have 22 open, how many do you have to write? Maybe you have to write 2 for every one that you get open. So now you have to write 44 contracts. And then if you want 44 contracts to written, then you got to figure out how many appointments do you have to go on to get 44 contracts written. And if you, to figure out how many appointments you need to go on, you need to know how many leads you need to get in order to get that many appointments, so you can write that many contracts, so you can open that many contracts, and then you can close that many contracts. So ultimately, it comes down to how many leads you're going to need, whether you're generating those leads or whether you're receiving those leads. It's always going to come down to closings in leads. Like, how many closings you want? Well, then back up, and that'll tell you how many leads you need, whether you self-generate or a company provides them. Now, when you realize, okay, I need so many leads, and you said, okay, well, now you might need, I'm just going to throw out a number. You need 500 leads. Okay, well, how many days are you going to work? Well, I'm going to work 5 days a week. Okay, well, then for the next 6 months, then you figure out how many days that is. And then you divide that into the number of leads. Now you know how many leads you got to generate each day. That's all formulation phase. Now that you know how many leads you must generate each day, whether it's outbound prospecting or whether it's doing some sort of marketing in order, or buying leads, whatever that is, now that you know how many leads you need each day, then you have to concentrate on that for 90 days. So Monday, today, you have to actually do whatever it takes to get that many leads. And then tomorrow, guess what? You start off at 0. So tomorrow you have to do those activities again so you can generate that many leads. And you have to do it the next day and the next day and the next day. And yes, you'll be bored because you're doing the same thing over and over again for 90 days. Now, I've said on many coaching calls, the masters, the legends, the Michael Jordans, the Tiger Woods, anyone that you would think that have mastered some sort of art or sport or mastered their craft, they actually know about this concentration phase. Like those who can be disciplined enough and master the concentration phase are the ones that reach mastery in their craft, in their art or their sport. And that's what we're doing here as business people. If we want to reach mastery, and by the way, mastery is this. Mastery is when you get to the point where you no longer have to grind and the business just occurs. Now, you still have to work, but you no longer have to grind and the business occurs. I mean, you've mastered lead generation, and you've mastered, putting them into the database and nurturing them properly. And now all of a sudden, a few years later, now business is just calling you, and you've got everything you want, all you want in the amount of business that you that you could want, and you're not having to necessarily grind in order to achieve it. That's kind of like what we're looking for when we're at the mastery level. But unfortunately, you have to go through these phases. So again, we're in the concentration phase. This is a few keys to a successful concentration phase is this. Number one, you must get to work. And, and this loses a lot of real estate agents because that's not really why they got into real estate. But if you really want to get to mastery level in the concentration phase, this is the working phase. This is the time where you must follow the plan that you wrote. You write a business plan, and you have to follow that plan. You also must have some versatility. Not everything will go as planned. So sometimes you'll have to modify your plan. You'll have to adjust it. You'll have to correct it. You may have thought that you only needed X amount of leads to get to an appointment, but you find that you need more, or maybe you need less. So you need to modify and adjust that plan to make sure that the plan is accurate. The next thing is consistency is critical. You have to have faith in your plan. You cannot do it today and tomorrow, then skip the next day and think that you're going to make it up the following day. It won't work like that. The concentration phase says you must do certain activities every day, every work day for 90 straight work days. Again, I talked about repetitious boredom because that will kick in. But Tiger Woods got boring on the golf course. Michael Jordan got bored on the basketball court. Michael Phelps got bored in the pool. Everybody who mastered at a high level their craft got bored. You also have to be patient. This is what happens in the concentration phase a lot of times. You'll start the concentration phase, And all of a sudden you're like, gosh, this doesn't seem to be working. It's not supposed to be working in the concentration phase. You're supposed to be working. So if you're not getting the result in the concentration phase, that's normal. Concentration phase is not where we get the result. So be patient, stick it through. You got to formulate, and then you got to concentrate. And when you formulate and you work that plan and you concentrate on that plan for 90 straight days, then you get to go to the momentum phase. The next phase is momentum. Now, this is cool. I like the momentum phase. This is the phase that you can get excited about finally, right? The formulation and the concentration seem like, oh, that's a lot of work. And again, 90% of agents will never go out of the concentration phase. They'll quit the concentration phase, and then they'll go reformulate an idea that they think will work better or work faster, which then they just get stuck in formulate, concentrate, and they get real frustrated with the business. They never get to experience what it's like to be in momentum. Momentum phase is this, where your efforts in the concentration phase start to actually pay off. This is the time where you're concentrating and you're making your calls or doing the things that you do to generate business. And while you're doing the things you're doing, then you get a call from somebody that you talked to 60 days ago while you were in the concentration phase that says, hey, I want to buy now. So you're still doing the things in the concentration phase that you do every day, but now not only are you getting some business because you're doing those activities, now you're starting to receive business from the past activities. So you're starting to get more business than the effort you're putting out. That's what the momentum phase is all about. It's like, wow, I had 3 people call me and I actually got a lead myself. In the concentration phase, it seems like you're investing more effort and more energy, and you're really not getting your fair share of business. It's like you're putting in more than you're getting in the concentration phase. Exactly. Like if you want to make an investment and open up a business, you have to put money in order to make money, take money out. This is the concentration phase, is the investment. The momentum is where you start to see, wow, there is a payoff. Now, the challenge in the momentum phase is this. There's 2 traps that unfortunately real estate agents find themselves in. They start generating a little business, right? They got some ideas. They're in the formulation phase. Maybe we gave them some ideas. Maybe they came up with a few ideas themselves. And all of a sudden, they worked those ideas. They concentrated on those ideas. And then in the momentum phase, they started reaping the benefits. And then ego sets in. Oh, wow, I'm really good. I'm creating all this business now. I'm really good. I don't really need this. And, I don't really have to do that anymore because people are now calling me. That's ego. And then what happens when the ego sets in is all of a sudden we let our foot off the gas pedal and we stop doing the things that we did to get where we are. We stop doing those things. And when we stop putting in the effort in the momentum phase, what ends up happening is our pipeline will run dry, and eventually we'll see that momentum phase doesn't last forever. The momentum phase was just the momentum built from the concentration phase. And when we stop concentrating, eventually we will lose momentum. But the ego thinks, well, no, I've already put in my time. Now I know how to do this. This will just continue on forever. Not going to happen. Never does for any real estate agents around the country. That's pitfall number 1. So be very careful. Like when you start experiencing growth, don't take your foot off the pedal. Keep going forward. Now, the second thing that happens in momentum phase, this is the second pitfall or trap. Ego was the first one. The second one is overwhelm. Now all of a sudden you concentrate and you've got all this a sudden burst of new business in the momentum phase. And with the sudden burst of new business comes a sudden burst of more work, more paperwork, more processing. And we sit there and say, well, gosh, man, I just got 2 listings this week. I just wrote 2 sales. I got all these negotiations. I'm not going to be able to concentrate today. I won't be able to concentrate and do my lead generation activities today because I've got all this new paperwork I've got to do. I've got these negotiations I got to handle. I've got sellers calling me. I've got home inspectors calling me. All these things. Now all of a sudden you become overwhelmed. And when we become overwhelmed, the natural tendency is for the agent to take their foot off the pedal again. And they stop doing the things that got them to where they are in that current momentum phase. Here's the key. When you get to momentum phase, you've got to continue to concentrate, and you've got to quickly figure out how to manage that new business. Quickly, like, are you using systems properly? Do you need to add some additional systems? Do you eventually need to get an assistant? You know, there's all kinds of ways that you can set up your systems and set up staffing, or we can help you within the company to help you manage more business so you can continue to generate and concentrate on more business. And that's what's really, really critical. So whenever you're going through these phases, when you get to the momentum phase, if you start to think, well, gosh, I'm getting really good. I don't really need to do that anymore. I don't need that help, and I don't need to do this. Beware, that's common. Stay away from that. Resist that urge. The next thing is, if you become overwhelmed, reach out to one of us immediately, because we've already been at these stages of business that you're going through. We can help you and share with you what systems you need to set up to be able to manage this. So you don't have to kind of be like, the key is to put your business on cruise control, where you're always concentrating or always moving at a certain speed, instead of like not having it on cruise control. And then all of a sudden your foot gets heavy and you start speeding up, and then you realize, oh, you're going too fast, and you let it off, and then you speed up, and then you let it off, and then you speed up. See, that's how most people's businesses are. But if you go through the phases of mastery, you don't have to be like that. You just have to understand where you are in the stage. So when you're letting your foot off the gas, it's likely because you're either overwhelmed or you're thinking, maybe you don't have to do those things anymore. Those are pitfalls. Stay away. I have to coach agents through that process all the time. Now, let's just assume that we get into momentum phase because we're working really hard in the concentration phase. And let's assume for a minute that we've avoided the pitfalls of overwhelm. We've set up some systems. We realize that even though I'm feeling more confident, it doesn't mean that I can stop doing the things that I know I need to do that got me here. Now you can, once you do that, now you go into phase 4, which is stabilization phase. That's where you stabilize, because see, now it's like your systems are kicking in, so you can handle the new volume of business you're doing and maintain the current speed, meaning the concentration phase. So you keep doing the things that got you to momentum. You add systems during the momentum phase to then stabilize your business. Now in stabilization phase is where you're comfortably managing a new level of business. See, right now, some of you might be comfortably managing 10 deals. Some of you might be comfortably managing 50 deals. Some may be comfortably managing 200 deals. But the systems that are in place at 200 deals versus 100 versus 50 versus 10 versus 5 are totally different. And each level of production that you go up, there's another level or another layer of systems and support that you're going to need. So when you successfully put that into place, now you're stable. Great, now you've reached your stabilization phase. Now, this is where you actually continue to maintain this book of business that you've built. You continue to concentrate, you're feeding the pipeline, you're following up, so you're closing these deals, writing contracts, etc. You're maintaining, good books and processing paperwork and managing all of your clients very well. Now what you want to do is you want to go back to the formulation phase. You want to go back and you want to reformulate. You're like, okay, well, I was doing 20 deals. Now I'm paced to doing, 45 deals. This worked. Now you go in and you reformulate. You formulate a new plan and when you formulate a new plan, what you do is you identify where you are. Now I'm at 45 deals. Where do I want to go? I want to go to 70 deals or 65 deals or whatever the number is. You formulate a new plan at stabilization phase and basically say, okay, where do I want to grow from here? You formulate that plan, then you start concentrating again. You go through the process all over again. You formulate, you concentrate, you'll generate more momentum. You avoid ego and overwhelm. You set up your systems and you restabilize. See, once you get to stabilization, then what you do is you formulate a new plan so you can break through to the next label or next level. And breakthrough, by the way, is the fifth phase. So you concentrate or formulate, concentrate, momentum. You stabilize, you reformulate, you concentrate on that new plan, and then you break through. You break through again. Now all of a sudden you've got another sudden burst, another increase of business. Like you generate more momentum again. Then hurry up and make sure that you avoid ego and avoid overwhelm. Set up your new systems to handle that new volume of business and restabilize. Now you've restabilized at a higher level. Guess what you do? Reformulate, reconcentrate, generate momentum, break through, restabilize. Formulate again, concentrate, build that momentum, avoid the pitfalls, set up your systems, break through, restabilize. And over a series of times or years or months, but it'll take more than months to reach mastery, of course. But over time, following the process of formulate, concentrate, momentum, stabilize, breakthrough, formulate, concentrate, momentum, stabilize, breakthrough, eventually you get to mastery because you've mastered the process. You've been able to create a plan. You've been able to set up the systems and can concentrate on the plan. The plan was predictable and duplicatable, so you know that it helped you build business. You stabilized and you just keep doing it. Now you've got a real business. And you can keep doing this until you reach the level that you desire for yourself. See, at the mastery level, it's like you've gone through this so many times that you've reformulated, reconcentrated, and set up so many systems. Now you're running a business. Now you can come in and you've got a few assistants possibly, if that's the way that you want to take your business. Or maybe you've just got a manageable amount of business that you can come in and you don't have to grind as much anymore. And now all of a sudden you've got the database that's spitting out or performing for you. Now it's giving you 20 or 30 deals without you having to go and do what you did in the first years of this concentration type of process. So that's what I really wanted to share with you today. I really wanted to take you through the process, the 6 steps to mastery. I will say before we get off the phone that a few things that occur that get in the way. Number one, people, for some reason, get stuck in the formulation phase. They either don't know what they want, meaning they don't identify what they want. Don't do that. Just go ahead and declare, like, I want to do blank deals. Like, don't overthink it. Don't think like, well, is this possible? Am I going to be able to do this? Is this big? Is this too big or is this too small? Don't think like that. Just go ahead and figure out where you are. Tell yourself or write down where you want to go. And if you don't know how to get there, that's okay. Remember, who can you ask? You can ask me. You can ask other leaders around the operation. You can ask us how to get there. And we will share with you the hows to reach these goals. And then at that point, you just go to work. I challenge each of you to focus on one 90-day concentration phase and see what happens to your business. Don't think about mastery now. I just introduced the concept to you. Don't think about mastery. Think about concentration. If you could go and formulate right now, because we're about ready to be at the mid-year. We're coming close. We're about a month away from the year being half over. We're at that point now where we should all be formulating. Let's formulate what we want for the second half of this particular year. And then let's all start concentrating. Concentrate for 90 straight days. I'm asking a lot from you by asking you to go to the concentration phase, because some of you are like, well, I can do that. You know what? I understand the best of us are challenged with committing to a real concentration phase of 90 days. But challenge yourself for 90 straight days working your plan, because once you get a taste of what true momentum is like, then you will be addicted to it. And you will want to do this over and over again. Now, momentum is different than, oh, I ran this ad and I did this and I did a couple pop buys and it worked. Wow, great. I got a new listing and I got a sale. No, we're not talking about, like, there will be periods of time through the concentration phase where you'll do some things and you'll get some business. That's not what I'm talking about from momentum. Momentum is when you do some things and you get business, and you keep doing that for 90 days, and then you start getting business for things that you've done, not things that you just did. See, that's where the sudden burst of business comes from. Right now, people sometimes think that these short-term successes are great. All right, I got it figured out. No. That's a product of you just concentrating. Real momentum is you get everything that you're getting right now in the concentration phase, plus more. That wave of momentum comes in and puts more on top of what you get through the concentration phase. So I just challenge you all to please go out there and formulate and focus on concentration for 90 straight days. And then if there's anything that we can do for you, please reach out to me. I'm really committed to each one of you in helping you reach your goals. We'll talk soon.